Okay, we are live. Let me see. It takes a second to go up here. There we go. Hi everyone. Um, we have a lot of cool stuff to do today. Nothing here. I posted a few things. So we did the hyperparameter tuning job for the MOBA yesterday, and it did very well. In fact, it did well enough that it's going to allow us to essentially spend today finishing auto-balancing the game. And then we should be able to just kind of start doing cool stuff with it. Yeah. And then I'm hoping the project will kind of drive itself for a bit after this. Though we might end up having to spend a good chunk of time on just making the game easier to understand and sort of like graphics, animations, and stuff. It's not just flavor, it is also important for understanding what's going on. So we'll do a little bit of time, we'll spend a little bit of time on that. And we also got some results overnight. So I did this giant sweep on Breakout over the weekend. It finished. I now started one on Beam Rider. So far, Beam Rider has been crushed completely. Yeah, this is very, very good. I am a little bit confused as to why it's not running longer and longer experiments yet. I think I'm going to let this one go for a while. But I did a little test with Breakout, and if you just set the experiments to run for longer, it does do better, which is weird because Carbs is supposed to automatically run stuff for longer if it would help. So I think that there might be a little issue with the Carbs implementation. I'm going to let this collect a little bit more data before I ask the authors of Carbs about this, and see if they have any ideas, but I might end up having to fix some stuff here. But hey, I mean, that just means that there's even more potential for this to get better, right? Like, these ridiculously good experiments we've been running have all been at relatively short experiment ranges, like maximum 20 minutes runtime. So we'll see where this goes from here. I hope that this does actually continue to improve. We're going to let this run for a few more days. I mean, I would think so when you look at something like this one. Hold on. If I just do this. Holy, look at this. Yeah, this is like skyrocketing. What? Oh no, that's episode length. Uh Oh, funny enough, it looks like there is a run up here that did way better and then it just was unstable or something. Okay, yeah, this should definitely find some better runs if we just leave this. So, pretty cool. We'll let this keep going for now. And we should start on the MOBA. So, the plan for today is the dev loop is essentially going to be that we like look at the game parameters, we try to make some changes to the way that spells and attacks work and all that stuff. We run training for 10 minutes. We see if the agents learn to use the new attacks, if the classes are balanced, if like their various different stats that we've collected look reasonable. And we'll keep doing that back and forth a few times. And then maybe we'll swap a couple abilities. Maybe we'll do some like other changes. But then basically once that is done, then we will be able to just like make this thing look a little better, and we'll kind of be ready to throw together some public demos for this. Yeah. So the one thing like at a high level that I haven't figured out yet how I'm going to do yet is I have two major things I'm working on in the immediate future. I have this video that I've kind of been doing off stream, though I did a little of it on stream, which is going to be like the next big piece of content for Puffer. I want to finish that relatively soon. But then I also have, this huge simulation update for Puffer, which probably we should have released something by now, but I want to make it very good. And I don't want to just do rolling release updates either. So the thing I'm not sure about is how many of these demos I want to run on web, essentially. Because, like, if I want this thing to run on web, I'd have to port it to C, which I could do, and I would have a fun time doing it, but it would delay stuff, right? And I don't know if I want to do that. I don't think I want to commit to that just yet in either event. So we'll keep doing this for now, and I'll think about that. But at the very least, I'd like to get this into a spot where, like, I'm pretty confident that the models are good and I can continue training stuff and it'll work well. Yeah. Let's take a quick look before I start on the MOBA if there's any major stuff. Seg vaults. We're getting carb suggestions. Looks like Carbs is doing well on Control M's. This is so funny. It just works. Buffer box crash thread. This could be Segfault. Shit. That's not good. Okay. And, oh, we have some contributor stuff as well. Noah's breakout thing. And Nathan has Pong. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is solid. Very well done. Trained in 2 minutes on CPU. Very, very well done. It's awesome to see that we actually have some people, like, starting to add environments and stuff to Puffer. These are two very, very awesome projects here. That's a rep. Ugh. That's rough. Fault handle. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Wanby was doing weird things yesterday, so I don't know if I have anything to do there just yet. That looks good. Let's do the MOBA stuff now. I think we're good to go. Right, so if I recall where we left this off yesterday, why is this running breakout? Oh, right, because I did a little sweep. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. No big deal there. So I will have to kill that, but that's no big deal. That was just like a tiny test run. Basically, I just wanted to see what happens if you ran longer experiments with breakout. And yeah, you do actually get some better stuff, so that's fine. Okay, so we'll start running the MOBA, and we will look at the MOBA implementation. So I think what was happening is we found a bug in which you essentially had unlimited cooldowns. We fixed that, and the classes that were underperforming actually performed as expected. But then the classes that were underperforming started performing as expected, but the two that were overpowered stayed really overpowered, and I don't know why, because we'd like nerf them into the ground. So the idea with the carry is that it has very good scaling attack damage, right? Same as in the actual game. Um, Usually you scale this with items more, but we just give it base scaling. It has really bad stats and it doesn't have great abilities. But for some reason, the agents still think that the carry is just really good. So we're gonna figure out why that is. We're gonna figure out why the mid laner or whatever, the burst class, is overpowered as well, and we'll fix these. And the nice thing is that these experiments only take like 10 minutes, and we can also we can start understanding how they're doing after only a few minutes. So we'll start on that. Let me see if I can make the stats window a little better today. I'd have to make the chat or the camera smaller. Can do a little bit. Let's just do like this. Like this. Oops. Puffer moves down a little bit. And this goes over here. This. Okay. And now I can move this down just a little bit. And I think this is gonna, yeah, that's gonna mess it up, isn't it? But it will fix itself. There we go. Perfect. So we can actually see the time remaining at least. And this is a little easier to read. Okay, so already we have Assassin is still OP. Support tank. Where the hero kills. 5. Assassin is still crazy overpowered. Let's see what abilities are being used. So Q, W, E. It's using all of its skills. So it's got this minion AoE, right? It's got like this minion AoE that scales. It's got this TP that does damage that's very strong, and it's got this move buff, right? And I think that we said that we actually liked the way that this felt when we played it, so we wanted to make everything else stronger rather than making this weaker. Yeah, this thing is very broken at the moment. So that actually makes sense, because that means that we bring the burst and the carry back up. Okay, we bring the burst and the carry back up to where I wanted them to be. So what if I just give the carry 25 damage? And I do nothing else? Okay. I might actually just want to dev mostly on the server today, I think. Though if the box goes down, we'll be in trouble, but I think we'll be okay. Chase Wars at Puffer Box. So this is the remote box that I run the experiments on. We build. Okay, so now what I want to see is if giving the carry that extra scaling damage alone makes it on par with the assassin class or not. And then in the meantime, we should look at the burst class, which I just nerfed that a whole bunch, right? Yeah. So it got giga nerfed here. How much mana does this class start with? 300? And then how much does the assassin do with its TP damage? 250 plus 50 times level. Is that good? I think so, right? What's the usual HP gain for level? It's kind of hard to tell here. 100. I think 100 is the default. So basically this will chunk half your health. That feels good. I think that the base damage just has to go up on this. And the scaling goes up as well. I think this is now on par with the assassin's damage, but this is a ranged one. Okay. And it has follow-up with its AoE, right? Yeah. Really good scaling on this. I can't do 50 times level because that's, again, half your HP. I think this is 25 times level, maybe. We'll see if it likes it there. And the cool thing is now we should already be able to see if this is working. So hero kills. Okay, so the carry is still not performing anywhere near as well, even with these changes. Right? It's doing better, I believe, than before. And it is starting to scale more heavily, I think. But yeah, this has just run away with the game. I think we give this a little bit longer because it does look like maybe it's starting to outscale. But I think it's probably just too slow at the moment. It needs some help with its abilities early on. So, what skills is it currently using? Q, no, W, and E. I mean, these just scale terribly at the moment, right? So it has an AoE. It has a slow. So we give it a little buff there. That's it, right? And yeah, it's basically level with the burst class, so it's still not good. Also, I designed this game for 30 levels. Did Dota used to be 30 levels, now it's 25 or something? Or did I just do it wrong? Or is it now 30 and it used to be 25? Because I thought when I looked on the wiki it was 30 levels. Did I remember to rebuild? I did, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll run this again. And let's see if this does better. The goal is essentially to produce like a level and skill usage distribution that you would roughly expect from a game like Dota. So like the tank should have more damage received. It should probably have some self-healing done, quite a bit of self-healing done to tank the extra damage. Support should be healing, the rest of the team a little bit and maybe have some utility skills being used. The like assassin should have high kills, right? Like probably the carry should have really high total damage dealt, right? Stuff like that. It's pretty cool to see just how ridiculously fast these things learn. We're gonna be able to get it faster than this as well. Like the original Hyperpram sweep was based off of weird game mechanics. Like the more well balanced or like the better the game is, and the like less weird stuff you have to do, I think the easier it'll be to get like consistent learning progress. Okay, so now let's see. We have Assassin is still overperforming. Still early to tell for the carry. Assassin being strong early is actually fine. But the thing is, it like at the moment it just keeps scaling too fast. It should either fall off or like at least the other one should catch up. Assassin having most kills is probably fine though. It's just that it shouldn't have. It has way too high damage dealt. Maybe its auto attack scale too heavily. That's a thought, right? Hold on. I think it just has too much at the moment. It has like too much solo kill potential and too much scaling. I have to think about this in terms of like time to kill, right? So if they're gaining 100 HP per level, and you gain 15 damage per level, then it adds a second and a half or so to time to kill. So wait, at level, here's another way of thinking about this. At level 30, you will have like 150, 200 base attack with the base, yeah? So it's like 10 seconds to kill just with autos, but then you're probably doing like a third with your spells. That's about right. I think it's just that this is too much scaling is all. Yeah, I think this just scales too heavily. Let's bring this down to 10 maybe. And then we'll see how this looks from here. Let me check kills. So 46. Oh, the carry caught up actually. Look at that. Damage dealt. Damage dealt. It still scales too heavily, I think. I'm going to try it at 10 and we're going to see if that makes a big difference. But I do see that the carry caught up, but it caught up at the very end. Yeah, caught up like at the very end here. It still hasn't caught up in damage, which is like opposite. I think the assassin should have like low damage but high kills, right? Because it has like good like burst like jump spell or whatever. It's like good for like solo kills and stuff. Should be at least. I'm thinking of like, I guess I'm thinking of this based off of like league junglers or whatever. That like if they're ahead a couple levels, then they basically will just like jump and solo kill anybody. But like if they're behind or if there's like support, like they can't really do too much on their own. Yeah, this damage is still scaling out of control. Though the kills now, let me see the kills. The carry caught up on kills, so I think it's in a good spot now. And it is using its skills here. At least somewhat, though they're not as impactful, of course. Burst is still behind. Interesting that this is still behind. How much damage? This is somewhat far behind, I would say. Yeah, this should probably have more kills. Damn, I didn't think about how useful running these simulations will be for class balancing. Oh, yeah. Like, this is the type of thing where, I mean, if I'm looking for applications of this tech in industry, um, of course, it requires your game has to, like, it has to run so fast for this to be feasible. But, like, if you can do it, yeah, you no longer need beta testing. Or at least you need way less of it, because you're like, okay, we'll just like go home for the night and it'll be auto balanced in the morning. But like if you make it really fast, then it can be okay, we'll go get coffee and it'll be auto balanced, right? This is going to be a really cool thing in the future. But for now, we're just using it to make the research sims, which is almost even better because it lets us do the research to make this all work better, faster. It's pretty cool. Now, mind you, this didn't used to work, right? Like, this is only because we have all this stuff with Puffer and all like this auto tuning. Like, usually the research format when I was early on in my PhD would be like, you build something like this and then you spend 4 months suffering trying to get it to learn anything. It's so much better. Straight up building the roads. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Let me think how I. The thing is, I haven't played enough League or Dota. It's actually ironic that the most useful thing here for me would not be like more RL experience or whatever. It would be like if I were gold, if I were like gold in Dota or whatever the equivalent is, right? Like that would make this easier than anything else. I need like a Plat Plus player to just tell me what the fuck to do. I know that the ranks aren't like gold, plat, and Dota. It's like Ascendant, Archon, or what. I forget what the hell they are, but yeah, you know what I mean. The same like tier. Uh, how is the burst character not already like insane? It's not using its W. Hold on. Really? It doesn't use its W at all? Well, shit. You couldn't pay me to headhunt some salty diamond player. Yeah. I don't know. I grew up on MMOs. Like, by comparison, the MOBA community is really chill and friendly. So, hey, Ash, welcome. We're balancing this. We're using reinforcement learning to balance our, to help us balance our game, which we're using to do reinforcement learning research. So the problem is right here. If I give these, if I give this, I have to think of this in like TTK, right? Time to kill. If I give this two abilities that it can cast at like the same time that both scale with like half of the average health gain per level, then this is just going to be broken, right? What did I give the assassin? Wait, maybe the assassin is broken. Which game is this? You're using rain. So this is like a miniature version of Dota, kind of. Let me see. Do we have? I really should just have a go-to GIF for this, but I think I can run it real quick. Let me show this in case anybody hasn't seen this. Let's see. Oh, I need to load eval model path. Does this work? Wrong render mode. Okay, so this is the wrong render mode. But yeah, this is what it looks like at a high level. It's like the 3-lane structure. And then if I actually render this with the reasonable render mode, render mode human. Why didn't that work? Huh? Did Bet break my fucking code? I merged a PR yesterday. I think he broke my damn code. Huh? I'm going to show the GIF online, and then I'm going to fix this, and I'm going to, like, probably yell at Bet for submitting a shit PR. I'll show the GIF that I have online for this. Let me go find it. It looked kind of sketchy. I shouldn't have merged it, but I figured out whatever. It was like 9 p.m. and I wanted to go eat and go to bed. Okay, so this is the MOBA. This is what the MOBA looks like. We don't really have graphics for it yet, so it's like you have a bunch of puffers. The puffers are the heroes. They're like very slightly different shaded puffers that are the minions and the neutrals. But yeah, there are 5 different classes. You do have different QW and E abilities. There are 3 abilities per class. There's stuns. There are like slows. There's health and mana. There are towers. There are creep waves. You know, it's most of the major stuff you'd expect. There's 2 big exceptions. I haven't done vision yet. I will probably do vision. We'll see how hard it is. I probably am not going to do economy just because it's just like a pain in the ass for RL, and it's not going to add enough for the amount of annoyance that it will cause. Um, but yeah, it like you'll get a pretty decent MOBA out of it, I think, like a decent one at least for research, and it runs at 1,000,000 frames per second, so that's the main thing. It runs fast enough to just do hyperscale research on. Let me go figure out what the hell Bet did. This is his PR. Or if I'm being stupid, that's also possible. Why the fuck did I merge this? Well, he took the keyword arg out of this, so it wasn't rendering with the right keyword arg. Oh, the game? Yeah. I mean it's pretty stripped down for now, but it's not bad and it runs very fast and like we're actually getting cool dynamics out of it. This is not needed. Is that it? Did he just break everything else? Let me see. There we go. Why does this feel slow? Oh, because I'm usually like playing at 2x speed. We might change the base speed still, we'll see. But yeah, here we have this. What class am I playing? Oh, I'm playing Assassin right now. So technically I have like this move speed buff. Oh, I haven't compiled the latest version, I guess. But yeah, this is the game. I think in this build I don't have neutrals running for some dumb reason. But like I have abilities, and I can do stuff. There are towers. There's my team. All right, there you go. But he's a new dev. It's just funny. I mean, I didn't bother to read it properly, so or test it. Let's see. As of the latest version here, we didn't check. Right, we wanted to check the scaling of the assassin abilities, right? It basically just has one. Technically, it does also have this, so it's like a total potential of 70, but it mainly just has one here. This is 50. So I think that the burst, in order to keep up, it has to have scaling above that. But it should really have more follow-up damage, shouldn't it? Does it have a stun? Hold on. Oh no, it doesn't need more follow-up because it already has a stun. Okay. So we'll just do this scales as 40, maybe the nuke does here. And then bet you broke rendering. I don't know what else to tell you. You broke the freaking rendering. I just did on stream. You can rewind the YouTube or whatever. Like it wouldn't actually pass the correct render mode to the MOBA. It's I think either Twitch or YouTube. One of them you can just scroll back. Like I don't know, 5 minutes. This might be OP. 250, 300 plus 70 scaling. I think this is OP. I think this is going to stay 25, right? But wait, isn't that a nerf overall? Q, W. Wait, Q, W. It doesn't use its W. It uses its Q and its E. So this needs to be buffed so it'll use it. I think it does need to be 30. So then it gets a total of 70. Feels good. We'll see. Let's try this. Build this. So this version of Assassin is high burst, low sustain. How much is the ulti chunking the average enemy? So there isn't an ultimate at the moment. I have 3 skills. I didn't design this around really long cooldown ultimates. I might add that later, but it's going to be harder to get RL to do stuff with that initially while I'm running these like really short tests. It does have like a strong skill though. How much is the ulti? So the skill that the skill that it has at the moment, which is, it doesn't have like a crazy long cooldown. I think it's like a 12-second cooldown or a 14-second cooldown. So like once per fight. It is a So at level 1, it is 300 damage. The average health is 500. And it scales with 50 per level. And the average health gain per level is 100. So for most things, it's like for your typical thing, your typical opponent, it's going to be chunking them for like half their health later in the game. It has a 12-second cooldown. It also teleports you onto them, so you can follow up with autos. The assassin has average autos. They're not amazing, but the idea is if you're 1v1 and if you're a level ahead or 2 levels ahead maybe, then you just chunk them and you outscale them depending on who you dive. Assassin also has a move buff, so he can get around the map pretty fast. And he also has like just an AoE clear on minions that you can only target on minions, but if you happen to be in the middle of a minion wave, it can splash to any other heroes. And that will do like an additional 20% of their health probably. So let's see. At level 10, it's about a level ahead of the burst and the carry. Mid game here. Tank is really far behind. We'll fix these two. Okay, carry and assassin. Carry and assassin are now about even, it looks. Let's see. And now carry takes over in the late game, which is what we want. 21 kills, 21 kills. I would like to see the carry have more damage overall than the assassin, and like more. I'd like the assassin to have more damage and the carry to have more kills, but the thing is they're not laning properly at this point. They're kind of all running down mid, so I think that when they're laning properly, we'll get to see that more. So I'm not too bothered by this. I think that this is good. And 22 to 21, yep. 24 to 20, yeah, so the carry out levels here. The carry is properly a carry now. This is perfect. Burst is about par. How many kills does the burst have? 26 kills. This is pretty darn good. How much damage? I think the assassin is dealing slightly too much damage, or the burst maybe not enough. Maybe this needs a very small buff. And then we'll fix the other classes. As for the tank, yeah, the tank is just in the gutter right now. And support is, well, tank needs the most assistance at the moment. Here, we're going to screenshot this because the data at the very end of the game stops being useful. So we'll just put this here. So we're going to give the burst a very small buff somewhere. No love. Yeah, the tank is about to get giga buff, don't worry. So burst is using, we can actually see Q and E. It's not using its W skill at all. So it thinks that this skill is just not good enough to use, I guess. Which is very weird. Oh, it's supposed to be 150 mana, not 200. And then let's give it the same scaling as its nuke. This is kind of broken, but we'll leave it like this for now. I think this is basically going to be like one-shotting shit, but we'll see. And then its stun doesn't do damage at the very least, which is reasonable. Now let's take a look at the tank. So it is self-healing. As a non-coder, these are really useful metrics so far. They should be. If you are interested in this type of stuff, learning to code is definitely the way to go, though. It's a very rewarding thing. There's nothing else in the world that you can do where you can just like open up your laptop and just make crazy shit that changes the world with like zero financial or otherwise investment. You just write a few thousand lines of code and do something crazy that's never been done before. It takes time to learn though. It takes much time. It's the same opportunity cost as everything else, but you don't get limited by external stuff as much. So it's a lot more just on you whether stuff works or not. So let me see how I'm liking this skill set. So what's the tank use? It likes its Q, its W. It actually looks like it's very balanced in terms of the skills that it's using. It just doesn't look like it's strong enough is all. So let's go take a look at the tank stats. Spec into art and design, but I can read a graph. Okay, fair. I have like no ability with either of those. So that's fair. AoE damage over time. Self-heal. Engage AoE, right? QWE. And how much mana gain does the tank get? I think it's low, right? It gets 50. So same as the carry. So what's that? That means at level 30, it'll have 1700 mana. I mean, that's still a lot. Take this cooldown back to 70. This is already a good heal. How much damage is this thing doing? Its damage is actually kind of in a good spot. Hold on. It's maybe like a little bit low. How much are we doing here? So this is an AoE damage over time. This can be done 5 times per second because they're 5 ticks per second. So it costs 50 mana per second to do 100 damage per second base. plus 0.5 per level. That feels weak. I think that the scaling on that, let me think. So you do this for 2 seconds, you inflict 200 damage for 100 mana. I think the base is good, I think it just doesn't scale enough. So we're going to change this to be double the scaling, 1.0. And then I suspect that if the tank just catches up and levels a little bit, if the tank just catches up and levels, I think that it'll get to use its self-heal more. Yeah. Let's just make these changes first, and we're going to see if this actually is enough. I don't know what you do for Worth, South CX, but I will say that tech artist is a thing that exists. Artists that know a little bit to like implement a few little things with their designs. They do some pretty cool stuff. Though it is asking a lot, and that's a lot of different skills to need. I know enough to not stress coders out with unreasonable requests. That is a good spot to be in. That is a good spot to be in. All right, how is this doing? So, Assassin is ahead early. Tank is still way far behind. So actually, that's a good data point that the tank is behind early. This means that there's a problem with its initial... Maybe the problem isn't with its scaling. Maybe it's with its initial setup, let's say. Does it catch back up, or is it... I mean, if you're like 4 levels behind, I think you just don't catch up, right? Assassin is still ahead at level 11. And then Carry should just be about ready to take over mid-game here. It's about even. There it is. Carry passes Assassin at level 14. Are you programming an MMO? Nope, I've already done that. Already did that for a long time. This is a MOBA. Where's the thing? I had the graphic around, though I guess I can just run it, can't I? Here, I'll just run it. Here. So this is what it looks like. We've got a little MOBA. There's not really any assets in it yet. But the cool thing is it's all reinforcement learning. So all this right here, this is our assassin using its like boost skill. Here we have our, oops. Yeah, there you go. Little MOBA. We're currently balancing it by training agents to play the game and then seeing if they are good or not and seeing like if some classes are doing way too much better than others. Assassin might need a small scaling nerf, we'll see. Tank never caught up. Hey Noah, for Breakout it feels like it doesn't get any faster. When I comment out all the collision checking, it still runs around 500k during training. Without training at 10 mil, maybe it's hardware or algorithm that limits it. Noah, if you're getting don't profile end-to-end training. I can check that on the puffer box. Like your goal is if the environment runs at millions of FPS per core, then you're good. I'm creating my first game without any knowledge of programming. Good luck. It takes some time. It takes some time. This is not really games. This is like what you're watching here is kind of games programming, but there's a lot more to it because this is really I'm making games to be used for reinforcement learning research. So they are ultra high performance, like 1,000 times faster than you would design a normal game to be, and I'm training agents in the loop on this to like balance this to make sure it's good for everything. 10 mil just the environment. If that's single core, then you're set, Noah. And then I don't know what you're training on, but like the target hardware for a million train throughput is a 4090. So yeah, I think that'll be fine. And you can, if your environment is really fast, I don't know what the ob space is. If it's like some small state thing though, then it's probably going to need larger than 4096 forward pass batch. Started the easy part, creating maps. Yeah. Well, it takes some time, but... Okay, so tank is in the ditches at the moment. Let's figure out why the tank is this bad. Like on paper, it looks like it should be good. No, is your repo ready for testing? He has it online. I know. I mean, the tank has so much base health, and it gets pretty darn good damage scaling as well. Right? Yeah, Noah, this is Bet on Discord. He's one of the Pokemon contributors. I'm trying to think if I like the way this is at the moment with like I need to really think about TTKs here, don't I? So if you get 100 HP per level, times 30 is 3,000, right? And then base damage is going to be like 300, I think, if you have 10 per level. So yeah, it's TTK is like 10 seconds of just autos, which is reasonable. the tank having more base damage scaling and still being weak is crazy. I mean, that seems like it should be broken. It feels like I should be having to nerf it right now and not, like, figure out why it isn't working. Right? Did I just, like, mess up the math somehow here? Hold on. Did I, like, just mess the math up? One times player dot level. It's 100 DPS at base level. Is that good? Seems like that should be good. And then at level 30, it's 50, so 250 DPS per level. Is it still just not scaling enough? I think it's also weak. Is it weak at base level? We're gonna like giga buff this. Let's do like 25, and then we'll do 2. Let's do like this, and then I'm hoping that this should like just make it broken. We'll see. I mean, these characters, if I explain them to you like at a high level, they sound broken. Like, hey, the tank has way more HP than anyone else, way crazier HP scaling. It has an ability that it can just like channel damage in an AoE and continue doing that because it doesn't cost much mana. It can just like freaking burn everything in an area and do that like pretty substantial impact. It can basically like heal 2/3 of its HP in one button press, of its like massive HP total in one button press, and it also has an engage to get into fights. That seems like a really strong class, but the RL agents disagree. The RL agents say, hey, we're pressing all the buttons, we're using all the abilities, and we still can't make it. Kind of weird. It should be broken now, right? Let's see. It should at least outlevel the support. Come on, give me that much. If everybody is broken, nobody is broken syndrome. Yeah. But that's like the fun way for games to exist, right? Like everything should be broken, so nothing is broken. In this case, it's like this seems like it's broken and it's still underperforming the other things that are broken. How is this still okay? Wait, maybe this is fine. Let's see how it scales. Damage received on the tank is good. Right? It's tanking damage. Oh yeah, look at that. It's tanking damage. But it's falling behind in levels already. It shouldn't be falling behind like the other characters. It should be on par. Native damage mitigation as a percent. I don't want to have to implement more mechanics globally to balance is the thing unless there's like a very strong reason to. Because then I get into armor and I have to get into like, Dota has very complicated formulas for this. So if I can avoid doing that, I would prefer to. But yeah, this thing is just getting... How is it just not scaling? Working with HP, healing, mana, damage increases. They have a base damage that increases every level. They've got, spells that get stronger every level. You know, it looked like this thing was doing okay. But if I'm looking at damage received, right, it is tanking. It's just, it's falling behind too much in levels for it to keep this up, right? I think what's going to happen is it's going to fall behind because it's just too many levels behind to be relevant. Yeah, look, it's level 10 and like these guys have just giga scaled. So now it's still received the most damage, but the gap I think is starting to close. 10 to 16. Where do you see 10 to 16? Oh, the level, yeah. I mean, that's just awful. You can't be. I mean, if we're designing this, like, maybe the support should be 2 to 3 levels behind. Maybe the support's supposed to be what? Actually, like 3 levels behind the carry, maybe usually towards the end. 2 levels, depending. Like, they're not supposed to just fly off in completely opposite directions like this. The thing is, it is actually tanking damage. Like, this is the damage here received is good. It has a high HP total, and it's actually, you can see that 5k of this is from its healing. So it would be 21k, but it's actually gone up to 26k because of its self-heal here. Hi there, are you letting the model choose the reward parameters or setting them yourself? A little bit of both. I have 5 manually designed reward components that are like, they're listed here, right? There's a reward for getting XP, for taking towers, for going to the enemy ancient. There's a reward for dying, and there's, yeah, like one other one I forget. And the actual weights of these reward functions are determined by massive hyperparameter sweep. So I'm not setting the weights manually, but I've just said like, and these are 5 things that seem like they would be relevant reward components, and then the rest gets automated. Like I ran 500 experiments over the weekend, 100 billion steps worth of training, and I found some good hyperparameters based on that. How is this tuning usually done for real games? Seems near impossible if you don't have a massive player base. It is. Like, you just have a bunch of devs that are very experienced and they do their best to guess, right? And then they play the game themselves, and then they do like a closed beta or whatever, and then they launch, and then they balance, like, they make patches, right? And it's very, very slow and very painful, and you don't have an opportunity to get good feedback. We have like ultra easy mode here because of this. The only thing we don't have is that our players can't tell us something is broken, right? They can't write like, hey, this ability is just ridiculous. All we can see is like, well, they're using this ability a bunch and they're winning too much, so probably it's overpowered, right? So we have stats, but we don't have direct feedback. Okay, the tank is tanking. It's just falling behind in levels, which means that it is QWE. Why is it falling behind in levels? You can't just plug in an LLM and tell you how it's feeling. Nope. These models are tiny. How are we supposed to specify the render arg in the run class? Render mode. It's the last parameter there. You pass it to the env creator. Yeah, you can pass it through env keyword args though, which is what the original code did. That's not hard coded, that's a default. HP gain per level. Does this game have CS Gold or Economy XP equivalents? It does have. It has XP. You get XP for. It's a little bit of a mix. I didn't want to implement the economy system, not because it would be hard to do the items, but because it would be annoying to plug the neural nets into buying and like buying items and like builds like that. Um, so what I did is I made it so you have to last hit a minion to get XP, and then that XP is shared with nearby allies. It's split among nearby allies. So there is an incentive to like make sure that you're last hitting your minions. There isn't a deny at the moment, though I could very, very easily add that. Um, so there is an element of it. It needs some iteration, but yeah, it exists. Currently, I'm just trying to balance all the classes so that they're at least like they look reasonable, and then we start scaling it and we start doing like new features. We start like making the game look better. We start playing it more to see if it actually feels like it's reasonable, and we start scaling experiments and stuff from there. Do you have any sort of replay functionality to see decisions made? Were you not here when I showed it? Hold on. You can just run it live. Give it a second. It should run way faster than this. I'm technically running like 200 copies of this game in parallel or something stupid now. So you can just play the game, and these guys here, these are live running reinforcement learning agents. Okay, I just got murked. But yeah. So you can just play it. Yeah. And also, it gets cooler than that because let me show you the major thing that I implemented a while ago. I think I did this last week. So this is how cool we can get with this project with Pufferlib because of how fast I've made everything. So I go to Wandby here. This is like my training console, right, for my big experiments. And if I go to sweeps here, I should be able to find. So this is 512 experiments. And I actually get ELO over time. So as I find different experiment settings, I find ones that get higher and higher ELO. So as I've run these experiments, I've also, during the process of training them, I've evaluated them against all the previous models. And we actually can see, like, I think it's that 200 ELO difference is 75% win rate. So you actually can see that they're, like, learning to beat their older versions over time. It's pretty cool. And you get optimal hyperparameters. You get like probabilistic analysis of which settings actually mattered. You get all the curves for all the different train runs. You can filter them. So basically, if the game is balanced and makes sense, and we have stuff set up, we can kind of automate everything else. It's pretty nice. This did not exist a few months ago. But like no amount of hyperparameters is going to get you around like, hey, the tank class just sucks, right? So we have to still have stuff be balanced. It's actually incredibly weird to me as well that this is bad. This feels like it should be good. Like, dude, how is this bad? Is it just getting one shot? Like, 60 times level, right? Dude, how is this bad? Wait, player AoE. Let me see. Entity target. Scan AoE. Wait, scan AoE. This is a really weird function. Could I be... Is there some logic that's screwy here? I should just play this, right? I should just play it and see. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. Negative damage is healing for allies. Yeah. That's how it works. It's kind of a hack. And I need to do... Right. Tank is index 3. So I can just play as the tank if I just set... I just have to set a debug flag. I just do 3 here. And I should be able to play this. I currently don't handle invalid render modes, but I could just do that somewhere. Okay, so I have... Yeah, this is the tank. It has 700 health. And I should be able to, like... It does reset you occasionally. I forgot about that. I need to self-heal. Come on. It needs a lot of mana. There we go. I fully self-healed. And then... Level 3. I don't think I need to self-heal here. I'm going to use this Q to burn all these minions. This feels strong. It feels like this would even feel good to play if I had, like, just a better... Oops. How about I burn all of them? Yeah, I just cleared all of them. Do the skills just take too much mana? Is that what it is? It might just be that they take way too much mana, right? Okay. I think that's probably... Let's try that. I bet they're out of mana. How many players per side? 5v5, same as Dota. A lot of the stuff is 1v1. Like, is just, like, taken 1v1. Or, like, 1-to-1 with Dota. A lot of it is just Dota. Let me try giving it a significantly better mana cost here. Let's see what happens if this is just, like, not expensive. If this makes a difference. Because this feels like a good ability. So this is 25 mana per second now. How did you get the entropy of MOBA so low? Where are you seeing the entropy? Also, there isn't mouse position action space. Not at the, like, it's like a component wise thing. Hey Nathan, welcome. How's it going? We're balancing the MOBA today. It's going pretty quick as well. Oh, this might be better. Hold on. It's still falling behind, but not as aggressively. So is that what it was? The tank just actually has mana problems? Is XP shared or solo? It's shared in AoE. It's like if you're close enough to your allies when you kill something, it's shared in the AoE. We just added that yesterday. I was reluctant to add it, but it was like it was really breaking the game not having stuff be shared like Dota is. You don't get XP though if you don't last hit. Like your team, nobody gets XP if there's no last hit done. What are you doing at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday? I mean, yeah, this is my job. This sim is going to be I mean, if you think about it, this sim is like a really complicated and interesting environment for use in reinforcement learning research and testing algorithms, right? It's way higher performance, like 1,000 times faster than basically anything else out there. You're doing work, I'm talking about viewing. I mean, what are you doing on a Tuesday? Like, you're watching the future of reinforcement learning being built live, right? I wouldn't be doing this stuff if I didn't think I can really just like solve a whole bunch of major things in this, like just revamp the whole field, right? That's the only reason this is worth doing is because I think I can actually do it. Tank is still behind. It is tanking. It's doing its role job. I don't like how far the level is, though, behind. Unironically, a game changer for QA and testing. It's way more than that, man. That's that's a side effect. This is like way more broadly. This is RL is not advancing at the pace it should be. It's been like stuck because all the experiments take so damn long and there are no complex environments that you can actually train fast. So like basically half of the research papers published in this field are just wrong because they're conducted with insufficient experimental evidence. Like half of the like I basically at this point when I read a new paper in RL, I just assume it's wrong until proven otherwise. Do the agents act in distinct phases during the game? Is their behavior consistent across time? They're pretty stupid at the moment. Like this is a pretty basic setup. But once we iterate on this a little bit more, the hope is that we learn all that stuff. So a fun fact with this is once this is fully optimized, we're going to be able to match roughly half of the data throughput of the entirety of OpenAI 5, like the huge OpenAI project. We're going to be able to get about half that on one GPU. Not 1,000. One. Working in RLHF, we consistently run into that wall. Yep. Oh, yeah. And in RLHF, you don't even have half the problems that we have. Trust me. We got demons. We got some real demons to exorcise. I said data. I said data bet. I didn't say model size. ChatGPT may or may not assume Onyx may exist. Wait, what? ChatGPT may or may not assume Onyx may exist in an embedded environment. I'm intrigued, seemingly. I don't know what that means, Jason. If you want embedded stuff, though, I released this yesterday. This is running in the browser. This is running RL agents in your browser. 100% client side. So yeah, this is a fun thing you can play with. I'm a little conflicted about this because I think the tank is in a good spot. It's just under leveling. Like, yeah, at the end of the game it catches up, but let me think. Why does the tank get under leveled? How does that make sense? Damage received is very good, right? It's done the tank job. Look at healing received. It's healed itself 30k. Do you want hard? No, I don't want hard-coded args for render mode to supersede runtime args. Is it just not getting last hits relative to its teammates? It shouldn't matter. If you're nearby and a teammate gets last hit, the XP is shared. It's so weird, though. Like, Do you have any way of tracking proximity? Not really. I could add it, but I mean, I don't know what it tells me. Heroes killed / tank. It's 46. The thing is, it is doing its job. It is tanking. I just don't know why it is falling behind in levels. Because, like, I would think if it is tanking, right, it should be getting all the XP. Maybe it's that the tank is dying because it's getting... I don't know. It's weird. When it backs up to heal... It's not backing up to heal. They're not smart that smart yet. They will go forward and then they'll mash the heal button. Like, they won't actually back off. They just keep going forward. Basically, they're smart enough to, like, rush the objective and use skills at the moment. I mean, I like, how much do you want out of these, right? These are like, they're trained in a few minutes. Is there a death counter? I should add a death counter, shouldn't I? Why don't we add a death counter? I love how easy that is. It literally took like 30 seconds to add that metric and get it integrated with the entire, like, everything that we're doing here. Assuming it's working, of course. Looks like it is. That was pretty cool. Love good architecture. The architecture of this thing is basically a meme. It's so funny. It's just like, what if we just made an entity struct and everything's an entity? So we can just add properties to that struct and not care and be done. It's particularly funny because it's actually very, very fast. Okay. So the assassin's actually what we expect, right? It's not playing well, so it's getting a lot of kills, but it's also just dying a lot, right? Because it's like running in, killing a thing, and then dying because it's like not planning on escaping or anything. Tank is not dying any more than the other characters. Carry is getting bullied because, of course, it is getting bullied early in the game. I'm not even getting bullied that hard. I don't know why it's this far behind. Like, you see right here that it's... I mean, it's level with the support now, but this support needs to get ahead as well. 16, 18, 17, yeah, it needs to be way higher up. Let's actually screenshot this, because this is probably the most indicative portion of the game here. This is like the mid-game needs to be balanced, right? Mid-late game. Right here, the tank has how many kills? 6 kills. Maybe we're not sharing XP correctly. I could have that logic wrong. Breakout XP by source, potentially. I mean, I could also just look at it here. So here's the logic for sharing XP. If you're targeting a player, you get the XP for killing the target. Otherwise, you get whatever this is. This is the range sharing logic, so the index, because it like we number the players 0 through 10 or whatever, so if you're on Radiant, your player 0 through 5. If you're on Dire, it's 5 through 9. So 0 through 4, 5 through 9, I should say. By default, they're not in range. We check for the number of targets, number of allies that are in range. We go through 5 teammates. We're going to get the first player on our team, which is either 0 or 5 plus I. So that is each agent on your team. We're going to compute the distance between the player that has killed stuff. This is kind of weird, I guess. It should probably be... The XP radius should probably be centered on the target, right? I don't know if that makes a difference. Is there range versus melee damage? Technically, I think all the skills... Some skills only work in like a small AoE around you, but most of them have the same attack range. Struct is smart. I was getting slightly annoyed having to log things. Yeah. So, Nathan, this is like the critical piece of infrastructure that makes all this stuff work. And if I could figure out how to replicate this in pure C nicely, I would just do it that way. But NumPy structured arrays allow you to have a fixed memory array of structs that if you look at it in NumPy, it'll give you like an array where the object type is it's a structured array. So you can do like players of 0 through 5 dot health, for instance, or you can do players dot health of like 0 through 5. You can do like just players of 0 through 5 to get all 5 players, all their stats. And then that same memory is mirrored to C. So you don't ever have to copy anything. It's very, very nice. So this says that if you're that anything that's nearby the player that kills something is going to be marked in range. And then we divide by the number of players that are in range. We get the agents that are in range here. We give them XP. And we give them reward. We level up allies if needed. So this is important, right? They get XP, they get leveled up potentially. And then they get their level up stats. I don't see anything wrong with this. I could make distance based on the target. I don't see if that will make any huge difference. Here. We have to define it up here because the target dies. Okay, so this does it. Maybe if, like, the target is in melee range, this could happen, but, like, I don't think that this should make a difference. I could be wrong. Let's check. Levels and hero kills are quite correlated. Well, yeah, for the most part they should be, right? It's really hard to get kills when you're behind. I mean, these guys also don't push as a team, so if you just like solo run it down mid, the higher level you are, the more minions you're gonna kill before you die. And just solo run down mid. Leroy Jenkins strat, yeah. This thing stuck. Is this stuck? What's going on here? I messed something up? I didn't think so. Is there anything here that can loop infinitely? It's supposed to be underscore. The reason for the underscore is we compute it before we kill the target. because once we kill the target, it could be reset. So we want the position of the target before they die. Interestingly, though, it seems to be hanging now. Hold on. That's like bizarre. Let me just run this again to see if this is actually a thing. Okay, we'll see if it gets stuck. It appears to be stuck. I don't know how the hell the change that I just made would make this get stuck. Right? Unless I just really slowed the sim down somehow. Okay, we'll try this without track. Could be wand B. I doubt it, but it could be wand B. Okay, so this thing is stuck. That's very, very weird. Is this thing stuck because of the change that we made? If I just comment this and I do... Let's see if it's still stuck. Is it no longer stuck? That is bizarre. Um... How the hell does this make this thing, like, not... How does this make this thing infinitely loop? If abs of... Does that make any sense whatsoever? Should it only apply to allies? What do you mean? It's also just possible that I made this code block really slow, right? Do I seriously have to compile this for the HTML for this? Is it possible that I did a div by 0?